We made it, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the official start of the 2024 MLB season, and that means we got to predict all the major awards for this upcoming season. So we'll start in the American League, give our award winners and a sleeper pick for each award. Then we'll do the same thing in the National League, and then finally, we're going to finish it out by predicting who wins the 2024 World Series Championship. We got a jam-packed show today that you are not going to want to miss, and it's all coming up next on the Bush League Bros. Roll the open.
Now, certainly plenty of fanfare between these two brothers.
Just complete Bush League.
The little brother just trying to annoy big brother.
If you look at it on the surface, it's Bush League.
Something about that sticks in my craw.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Bush League Bros, partner of the House Call Sports. I'm here with Taylor. My name is Matt, and today we are giving our 2024 awards and World Series predictions. But before we get into that, please just subscribe to the channel. So if for some reason you like anything from either of us in this episode, Taylor rattling off every single stat known to existence, or me rambling about nonsense and being over emotional, subscribing would be a big benefit to the brothers of the Bush League. Now, Taylor, it is time, brother. It is time to give our 2024 award and pennant predictions. There are three major awards in both leagues to be given out, so we will give you a winner for each, as well as a sleeper candidate with odds of plus 2,500 or higher. And we're going to start in the American League with the Cy Young Award, which last year was won by Yankees ace Garrett Cole, but of course he's going to be out for the first couple months of the year, so we'll see a different winner this year, and there is a lot of candidates to choose from. So Taylor, tell me, who is winning the AL Cy Young Award in 2024?
I got to go with Corbin Burnes here, and I'm keeping this one pretty simple. We know Burnes has the Cy Young caliber stuff, and I think he absolutely shoves in this year, which is a contract year for him. And with all that money that's been thrown around at starting pitching this offseason, Burnes will inevitably get a mega deal if he can pitch like he has the last 3 years, and I think that's going to be some decent motivation for him. And on top of that, I think the championship aspirations of the Orioles will also bring the best out of him, because it never really quite felt like Milwaukee was ever like all in when he was there, and I think that was a bit of a source of frustration for him. And he's moving from the NL Central now to the most competitive division in baseball, and I think that competition is going to bring out the best in him. Every single start he makes is going to matter, so he's going to go out there with something to prove, and I think he's going to prove it and come away with the Cy Young.
Taylor, I can't argue with you too much on that one. We obviously did a Corbin Burnes breakdown video after he signed with the Orioles, and we're both Yankees fans, and I was like, shit, this guy going to the Orioles is not good for us Yankee fans. But he's obviously an incredible pitcher. Already won a Cy Young, and then now he gets to play around with that massive left field of 700-foot left field in Baltimore half of his starts. But there's a lot of great choices here, Taylor, and I'm trying to get this one right after absolutely butchering my pick last year, worse than anyone has ever butchered a Cy Young pick in the history of Cy Young picks, considering I picked Alek Manoah to win the Cy Young, and halfway through the year, he was giving up 10 earned and 450-foot tanks in the Florida Complex League. This year, I'm going to get this one right because, Taylor, I'm all aboard, man. The hype train is leaving the station, and I'm the conductor. Cole Ragans is winning the 2024 Cy Young. The Royals got Cole Ragans for trading Aroldis Chapman last year. The Rangers won the World Series. The Royals absolutely fleeced them. Ragans with the Royals last year in 12 starts, 5-2, 2.64 ERA, 2.49 FIP, 11.2 Ks per nine, a 1.68 ERA plus, and he was named the American League Pitcher of the Month for August. This guy isn't just random either. He's a former first-round pick. The talent is there. A scout called Ragans, quote, left-handed DeGrom, which we know exactly what Jacob DeGrom was and is when he's healthy. He's one of the greatest pitchers ever. The reason this comparison is so fitting is Ragans' fastball. Ragans' first start this spring, his fastball averaged 99.2 miles per hour. He threw one at 101 miles an hour with 20 inches of induced vertical break. Not a single starter in MLB last season hit a 101 mile per hour fastball with that sort of vertical break. The vertical break basically means the ball doesn't drop nearly as much as the average fastball. So he's basically throwing an 101 mile per hour Jacob DeGrom left-handed rise ball. Okay. So for a guy that's also had a lot of injuries in his career, he's a double TJ guy. I think he's going to absolutely dominate the American League this year, especially getting to start a bunch of games in the AL Central, which isn't the strongest offensive division in baseball by any stretch of the imagination. So Cole Ragans hype train, baby. Give me Ragans to win the 2024 AL Cy Young, Taylor.
I love it. That's a guy that I actually did put a bet on very, very early on when the odds first came out, because that was one of the guys I targeted, knowing like these odds are going to go down pretty quickly. And after Cole's injury, they went down a lot. Like you said, the Rangers went on to win the World Series, so I'm not sure that they are too upset about that. But also the guy they got back, Aroldis Chapman, like how much did he really help them in that World Series? So especially right now, they could sure use a good arm in that rotation to start the year. So
they're not going to be too mad, but I think to pair with right-handed DeGrom, left-handed DeGrom would fit pretty well in that rotation as well.
Solid.
So yeah, two DeGroms is a pretty good formula, assuming both DeGroms stay healthy.
Maybe in a couple of years we'll be saying that DeGrom is the right-handed Cole Reagans.
Exactly. After this year, that's what we'll be saying, because he's going to win the Cy Young. But Taylor, I'm going to go to you, man. Give me a sleeper plus 2,500 or more for this AL Cy Young. Who do you got?
Well, I rode the plus 2,500 line that we set for our sleepers pretty much exactly. Last year, I had a really hard time deciding who my AL Cy Young sleeper pick was going to be, because I felt like there were so many options and I was having a hard time picking which one I want. That was not the problem I had this year. So I went with Logan Gilbert, because on DraftKings at the time of my research, he was at plus 2,500. And let's see, he is now at plus 2,200. So I guess I'm cheating a little bit. But earlier today, he was at plus 2,500. We've seen these Cy Young odds for the AL shift a ton after this Garrett Cole news, like I just mentioned with Cole Reagans. Like so many of the guys that were in the top 10 for that have seen their odds jump to much lower numbers. I'm taking Gilbert because I feel confident that he's at least going to be able to handle a Cy Young level workload this year, and because he's made some changes to his pitch mix that I think could pay massive dividends over the course of the season. Logan Gilbert obviously throws really hard and he has really, really good extension, and as a result, his perceived velocity is actually pretty close to Spencer Strider's. His fastball doesn't have that much movement though, and when you look at the rest of his mix, it's a lot of just north-south movement on all of his pitches. He's got the knuckle curve, he's got the gyro slider, and then he has a splitter that he started throwing last year. Maybe he calls it a split change. I don't know. Semantics there, some kind of a splitter. He was interviewed by Rob Friedman of Pitching Ninja at spring training, and he also said he's starting to give his knuckle curve more horizontal movement and starting to add a cutter into his mix. And I think those are huge additions to his pitch mix, because adding that potential horizontal movement to his mix and working in another type of fastball will prevent the four seam from getting hit as hard, because besides that four seam, he didn't really have another offering that he could throw effectively up in the zone. But if they also have to watch out for a cutter, that'll help the four seam get more swing and miss. So look for him to throw that cutter a lot early in games and early in the season, because he's going to want hitters to know that that pitch is there, to have that in the back of their mind to play up that four seam. Also, I think the splitter is going to improve this year, which was already a great pitch for him last year. And splitters usually take pitchers a little bit of time to figure out, to get the nuances of that pitch. It comes off the fingers in such a unique way that it takes a long time to learn how to command that. If he's able to improve that pitch this year, that also makes that high extension fastball even more deadly, since that's what a splitter is meant to do. It's meant to look like a fastball until the last second, so then the hitter doesn't know whether or not it's going to be a fastball or a splitter. And then that also allows him to throw that fastball down in the zone, because the hitter just basically has to guess. Like, they don't know if it's down in the zone. They might be chasing a splitter, or they might be looking at a fastball that's a strike. So with those changes in his mix, combined with the confidence that he's going to put forth a Cy Young level workload, I think he's a pretty solid sleeper pick.
I like that pick. I mean, really, there's three guys in that Mariners rotation that you could fathom winning the Cy Young this year, and Logan Gilbert's obviously one of them. He's a really, really good pitcher. But for me, Taylor, there were some guys plus 2,500 that I liked. I thought about Nasty Nate Eovaldi at plus 3,000. I thought about Shane Bieber at plus 3,000 as well. I liked them, but I was like, I feel like I can get something better, you know. And I kept scrolling down and down and down until I hit plus 10,000, Taylor.
Oh boy!
And I said, there he is. Like, that's the best. That is the best bet on the board, and it's not even close. I'm going with Ryan Pepito of the Rays as my sleeper. Cy Young plus 10,000. Okay, he's what the Rays got back for Tyler Glasnow in the trade with the Dodgers. Okay, and Pepito hasn't thrown many big league innings. He's just 68 innings to be exact, but he's had a 2.7 ERA and a 1.53 ERA plus with the Dodgers in those 78 innings. Okay, and he looked to have fixed a lot of his command issues that he had in 2022, where he had 6.7 walks per nine with the Dodgers in 2022, and then in 2023 it went down to just 1.1 walks per nine. So the Rays get him, and in spring training, he just went 5 innings, allowing 1 hit with 6 Ks and just 54 pitches. We all know what the Rays do. They're gonna turn this kid who already looks like a stud into even more of a stud. We know that. And he's plus 10,000. Listen, I get there's a lack of experience at the big league level, but I think this is easily the best bet on the board besides Alek Manoah at plus 20,000, obviously. But I'm going Ryan Pepito from the Rays, Taylor. I'm going Ryan Pepito at plus 10,000 to win the Cy Young as my sleeper.
Okay, well, I like the pick. I like that you're going way deep with it. I have one that's way deeper than that later, so be ready for that.
Okay.
A couple things to note there. It's Ryan Pepito. Pepito. It's Ryan Pepito.
Pepito.
Pepieot. Pepito.
Pepito. Is that French?
I'm almost positive. It might be. I don't know. Also, I like this pick because I think he is going to stand out. I think he's going to be kind of the new Zach Eflin. But the problem is the Rays just aren't going to give those guys the workload. And I think that's my big counter argument here is that he's projected at somewhere around 130 innings. And I think that might even be a little bit low. I would go as high as maybe 150. But I do think if he gets the amount of run that it would take to win a Cy Young, I like that pick because I think the Rays are going to do big things with him. And I mean, just like they did with Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin was one of the best pitchers in the league last year in a bunch of categories. He just kind of suffers as far as a Cy Young standpoint because he's on the Rays and they're not going to expose him to those deep games.
Yeah, I mean, you gave all the reasons why he's plus 10,000, Taylor. I was given all the reasons why plus 10,000 is nothing. All right, he's sleepers
are sleepers for a reason, and
he's a sleeper for a reason, and it's because he doesn't have the workload, and the Rays might not give him the workload. But if he gets the workload, I'm telling you that $100 you put down is going to turn into 10 grand, and then you're going to comment down below and say thank you, Matt from Bush League Bros, for giving me $10,000. And I'll say you're welcome and cut me half of that check, big dog. Nice. Cut me half of that check. All right. But let's move on, man. Let's go to the AL Rookie of the Year award winner, where last year the Orioles' Gunnar Henderson won this award unanimously. This year, the award is up for grabs, with maybe a teammate of his being the most likely to win it, but there's a lot of good young players eligible for this award. So, Taylor, tell me who wins AL Rookie of the Year in 2024.
Well, the guy I'm going with was not the favorite when I picked him and when I placed a bet on him, but he is now the favorite because going into spring training, he was around plus 800. Yesterday, he was around plus 400, and we are recording this on Friday evening after getting the news that Wyatt Langford is now officially on the opening day roster for the Rangers, and Jackson Holliday is not. So now Wyatt Langford is all the way up to plus 225. The Texas Rangers know how to spot a talented hitter because they have so many of them in their clubhouse already. And the fact that they've been praising Langford's abilities since they drafted him is really all I need to know to take him for Rookie of the Year. He was so good in their system last year, and he was so good so quickly that apparently they almost called him up to be on the playoff roster for that team. And
oh my gosh.
And as we're recording this right now, I think he has about 6 spring training home runs and a 218 WRC plus and 56 plate appearances. And what stands out with his minor league numbers is how much power he's generating by not striking out a ton, and then also walking at basically the same rate he's striking out. So across the board, just extremely talented hitter, and he's going to be learning the craft of hitting from some of the best in the world on the Rangers. And it's also clear that the Rangers are not afraid to put their faith in rookies after the amount of responsibility they gave Josh Young and Evan Carter last year, and both performed extremely well. So and right now on Fangraphs, he's projected to be like their 3 or 4 hitter for the team that just won the World Series, which is absolutely insane. So I'm glad I got my bet in when I did, because I like the upside of Langford's bat so much for this season.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Rangers kind of turned into a juggernaut right on time offensively because, they brought in all those guys and, they obviously turned into a great offensive team. And now you get the 6th overall pick from last year, just kind of boosting your lineup up, So their lineup is going to be even more ridiculous if Langford is, what he looks to be, which is a elite MLB level hitter. So yeah, that's a great pick, Taylor. No doubt about it. But my Rookie of the Year in the AL, listen, I'm going with the guy who you just mentioned. He just got sent down to the minors. I'm still going with Jackson Holliday. I think you get him at really good value right now because he got sent down to the minors. So listen, I mentioned last episode that he's starting the year in AAA, and I think that's going to be last maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month. This guy is unreal. He flew through the minors last year. He played in 4 different levels in 123 games across all 4 leagues, 323 batting average, 442 on base, 499 slugging for a 941 OPS. In spring training this year, he also is hitting above 300 with a 997 OPS. This guy is everything that you want in a player, except elite power right now. He's more of a gap-to-gap hitter as of now. But again, he's 20 years old. He weighs about 185 pounds. He's going to put on weight, and he's going to start hitting some homers. The plate discipline, the bat-to-ball skills, the speed, the defense, and the power potential. This guy is special, okay? And obviously, his dad, Matt Holliday, taught him a thing or two about hitting, and he knows how to hit now, too. So he's going to be in the major leagues quickly, and the number plus 450 I think is a bargain. So once the Orioles stop playing that service time game or whatever they're trying to do, or get him a little more development, he's up there. I think they also wanted to get him a little more experience against some quality left-handed pitching as well, which is understandable. But again, the dude's going to be up soon. He'll rake, and right now I think he's got the 3rd best odds to win AL Rookie of the Year. So you're getting, in my opinion, the best rookie in the American League at the 3rd best odds. You're just going to have to wait a little while. Again, I think he's going to be the 2nd straight Oriole to win Rookie of the Year. I'm still going with Jackson Holliday. Taylor, I'll kick it back to you, man. Give me a sleeper pick for this AL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to find value on sleepers for Rookie of the Year as well, because it was, the top is so stacked with Jackson Holliday, Wyatt Langford, and Evan Carter. So I went hunting for a guy with upside that should at least have the opportunity for volume, and I landed on Ceddanne Rafaela of the Red Sox. He's been comped to Mookie Betts because of the amount of power he generates relative to his body type, and his stance even looks a little bit Betts-esque. And the sleepers are long shots for a reason, like we said. The reason for Rafaela is the plate discipline. He swung at nearly 42% of the pitches out of the zone in his short stint with the Red Sox at the end of last year, which puts him in Javi Baez territory, which is not territory that you particularly want to be in. But he's super explosive. He's really electric. He's been a standout in spring training so far, and the Red Sox don't really have a good reason not to play him this year.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, like you mentioned, the Red Sox, they're not really going to be, I don't think anybody really thinks they're going to be a contending team. So, yeah, that's a guy who you could easily see being on the club and, making an impact. So, yeah, I think that's a solid sleeper pick. Taylor, I'm going to stay in the AL East. I had Jackson Holliday in the AL East. I'm staying in the AL East as well. Plus 3,500 right now. I went with someone I know, and that's the Blue Jays' #1 prospect and the best lefty pitching prospect in baseball right now. That's Ricky Tiedemann. He's in the mix right now to be a starter for the Jays, especially with Manoah being out and Gossman trying to get back and make it in time for the opener. However, John Snyder did announce their 5th starter would be Bowman Francis to start the year. So that's a little bit of a blow to Tiedemann's chances. And he's had some injury history as of late, too, so that's a negative as well. Again, that's why you're getting him at the plus 3,500 number. But he's got big league stuff, 95 to 98 from the left side with the fastball, good slider, good changeup, which is why Schneider also said he's, quote, in the mix to break camp with the Jays roster. And if he does that, it's not hard to see a path for him making his way into the Jays rotation. Either Francis struggles or someone gets hurt, then Tiedemann, with the stuff he possesses, if he can get an opportunity to start with a good defensive team like the Jays have and have a lot of really good veteran starters around him, like Gossman, like Barrios, like Bassett, like Kikuchi, to kind of teach him the ropes of the MLB game. They talk a lot about his confidence too, about how he's just like a really, really confident guy and he just doesn't get fazed by anything that's going on. And obviously you need that in baseball in general, and especially in the MLB, and especially in the AL East that's got a bunch of really, really good offensive teams in it. So yeah, I think Tiedemann's going to have a really good chance at winning this Rookie of the Year, especially as a sleeper. But let's move on, Taylor. It's going to be the last AL award, and it's the one that we finally can see maybe a surprise on, as Shohei Ohtani is now in the National League. The AL MVP award is no longer a foregone conclusion, and it's a beautiful thing because there are a lot of great players capable of winning it in the American League, so we will get to see them compete for this award throughout the course of the season. Taylor, tell me, who is winning the 2024 AL MVP?
My MVP pick aligns with one of my impassioned speeches from the last episode, because I just have a hunch about this Royals team this year. So I'm going with Bobby Witt Jr. plus 1,500.
Let's go, Bobby.
This is a young team that's really hungry, and they've picked up some solid pieces in the offseason, and I think they could surprise some people. But to do any big damage in that division, they need the face of their franchise to perform at an MVP level, and I think Bobby Witt Jr. could do that this year. And I think that's largely because this massive extension that he just got in the offseason, I think that's going to simplify things for him a lot. He now knows that he's going to be the face of Kansas City baseball for the foreseeable future. He doesn't have to worry about the business side of things really at all anymore. The financial side is covered, and by Witt's own admission in his first season, season, he was making a ton of mistakes on defense because he was playing too hard and too fast. And then last year, he was able to kind of settle down and trust his talent. And now that he's already proven himself and cemented a very big bank account, he just needs to go out there and focus on being the best player he can be and help the Royals win games. And I love it when guys with the crazy raw tools that Witt has can be in that situation where it's just like, just go out there and do your thing and play. Like, you don't have to worry about anything else. Because this guy's tools are just absurd. He was in the top 5th percentile in expected batting average, expected slugging last year, 30 home runs, 49 steals. And what's scary is there's still a lot of room for improvement there. And speaking of making improvements, Witt already showcased insane improvements on defense from 2022 to 2023. By outs above average in 2022, he was in the 2nd percentile among shortstops. That's the lowest 2% of shortstops. And then last year in 2023, he was in the 98th percentile.
Wow.
That's like kind of an incomprehensible improvement in one season. That shows you just how coachable this guy is and how adaptable he is. And when you pair a guy that's that adaptable with the amount of raw talent he has, you're looking at an MVP type player. And I just really like the Royals. They're going in a clear direction. I love the vibes out of their camp and spring training. I love Witt's tools, the improvements he's shown that he can make, and he doesn't have to worry about any of the business side of things anymore. And I think he's just going to go out there and put up silly numbers.
Taylor, I almost want to go back to our previous AL preview episode, because if your MVP prediction is right, and my Cy Young prediction is right, I want to go back and change my Royals are winning the division pick, because that's going to be a really good recipe for the Royals to compete for a division title. If my Cy Young pick comes true and your MVP pick comes true, he's just got tools that are just, like you said, they're translatable. He's got a swing that's just going to be able to translate. It's really, really short. He stays really, really close. He keeps his posture really, really well. His head stays back. He's got such a short, compact swing that makes for a really, really good player. And like you mentioned, the defense, stole 50 bags last year, 30-50 as a 22, 23-year-old. Guy's ridiculous. But listen, Taylor, I got 2 easy biased candidates that I could choose from here. Okay, the first and the third best odds with Aaron Judge at 1 and Juan Soto at 3. Okay, I could pick Judge. I could pick Soto. Hell, I could pick co-MVPs here, but I don't want to be a homer. Okay, so the guy I'm picking, and it fits my narrative of last episode of this guy's team taking a leap and winning the division. I'm going with J-Rod, baby. Julio Rodriguez wins the 2024 AL MVP. His first 2 years in the league. Rookie year, 25 homers, 25 steals with 25 doubles as well, 853 OPS, 147 OPS plus, and All-Star 7th in MVP voting and Rookie of the Year. Year 2, 30 homers, 30 steals with 37 doubles, 103 ribbies, 813 OPS, 128 OPS plus, All-Star in 4th in MVP voting, and that's with an awful start to last year. He was terrible to start off last year, okay? And Julio himself wasn't happy with his top 4 MVP season. He was consistently bad with chase, K, whiff, and walk rates, which are all 33 percentile and below. Julio said, quote, "I wasn't happy with it. There were a lot of moments that I feel I should have done better, like I could have done better. I know my ability. I know what I want for myself. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he struggled on this, he struggled on that. But none of those guys, with respect to all you and everybody that watched me, everybody that supports me, none of you guys would want me to be successful for this team more than I want to be successful for this team." That sounds like a guy who knows he's capable of a hell of a lot more and is motivated to get it done, okay? And like I said, without Shohei in the AL, anyone could win this. I think Julio goes off in year 3, and I think Julio Rodriguez is going to win the AL MVP in 2024.
I love it. He's a guy that I actually did put a little bit of money on. I put actual bets on him and Bobby Witt to win it, because I liked him for all the same reasons you did. And it's also funny that we talk about Julio having such a bad first half. He still had a 103 WRC plus. Like, he was still he was still solid, and then he turned it on, 156 WRC plus in the second half. And it looks like, I'm looking through his splits right now, and in the second half, he started pulling the ball a lot more. He was only pulling the ball 37.1% of the time in the first half, and then that went up 10% to 47.9% in the second half. And I know it seems like that, you can probably speak to this better than I can since you're an actual coach, but it seems like a lot of players, when they are overthinking, they get away from that instinct to just sort of hit the ball hard, and that results in them maybe overthinking and trying to spray the ball a little bit more, when in reality they're just going to hit the ball a lot more if they're trying to hit fly balls pull side. So
Right.
maybe that was part of the adjustment he made from the first half to the second half.
Yeah, all hitters are different. I think a lot of coaches, especially myself and especially with younger hitters, you're kind of trying to preach that, opposite field approach where you kind of let the ball get a little bit deeper and you let it travel and you take it the other way. But sometimes you'll see players go too far with it, and that kind of sounds like what Julio was doing wrong in the first half. He was probably letting the ball travel a little bit too much, and he was getting jammed on the inner half, and he was letting stuff, get too deep and slicing off balls to the, to the right side of the field. So his adjustment was probably like, hey, I'm just going to see it out front and get it out front and, and do my thing, because that's what makes Julio Rodriguez. And he found that and he got back to it. And, obviously, like you said, 153 WRC plus in the second half. So the guy is an absolute monster. He does everything well. There's not a single thing he doesn't do well, besides, obviously, like I said, the chase and stuff like that, So those are the things he needs to work on. It sounds like he's been working on them. So, yeah, I think Julio is a great selection. But, Taylor, I got to kick it back to you, man. Give me a sleeper for the AL MVP in 2024.
I'm going to go with Adolis Garcia, and I think he's an absolute steal at plus 5,000. Hit 39 bombs in the regular season last year, and then obviously really shined in the postseason by just going absolutely nuclear. And his strikeout rate and his walk rate have improved over the past 3 seasons, which I really like. He's top 10% in almost every hard hit metric, a 16.1% barrel rate. I love that. He's got good splits versus righties and lefties. He crushes sliders, which is extremely important in the game today, since everybody throws a slider, and his defense is actually pretty solid, which I think gets overlooked quite a bit, and that's only going to help accumulate WAR for him. He also has non-zero speed. He swiped 9 bags last year, and he's projected for 12 this year, and he's going to be hitting either third and fourth in this Rangers lineup, which is going to be behind guys like Marcus Semien, Evan Carter, probably Wyatt Langford, and Corey Seager. I don't know exactly how they're going to order that. I mean, great problem to have. You got 5 incredible batters to lead off your lineup with, and that means he's going to get a ton of RBI opportunities, and I think he's going to rack up counting stats. I also like him. Some books have him at plus 3,000 to lead MLB in RBI. I think that is an incredible bet.
Oh, that's a great bet.
Yeah, that's a good value bet. And the projections don't really seem to trust him, but I think that's why we're getting great value on this play. And I don't really understand the projections on him all that much, to be honest. He's going into, I think, his age 32 season. So there's really no reason to doubt him. And the upside here is massive. And with such a strong lineup around him, like, his counting stats at the end of the year are going to be wicked if he can stay healthy.
They're going to be huge. Like you said, Taylor, like, you can just pencil him in for 30 homers and 100 RBIs like every year. It seems like that's where he's at. And then two, I mean, the thing that people don't underestimate a little bit with a deep lineup like the Rangers have, it's like a pitcher has to do so much work just to get through Corey Seager and just to get through Wyatt Langford and just to get through Evan Carter, that, he's going to start getting a little bit tired, not only physically but mentally. Right, yeah. And then you see Adolis Garcia walk into the box and you're like, oh shit, I got to deal with this guy too, So it's like, they just keep coming at him and at him and at him, and I think that's something that all hitters in a great lineup are going to benefit from, is they play really well off of each other, because the pitcher doesn't get a break in a lineup like that, and Garcia is going to benefit tremendously from that. But Taylor, I'm going to stay in the AL West, okay? And it's been a lot of pro Mariners for me and a lot of anti-Astros for me the last couple of episodes, okay? There's 2 bets on the board right now at plus 4,000 and plus 5,000 respectively that could be steals, okay? And I'm going with maybe the 2 players I root for the least in the MLB right now, and that is Jose Altuve at plus 4,000 and Alex Bregman at plus 5,000, okay? Altuve's already won an MVP, even though I don't agree that he should have won it. And last year, when he was healthy, he played like an MVP again. He only played 90 games, but it was a 915 OPS and a 151 OPS plus. Bregman had a slow start to the year as well last year, but he's played 155 plus games the last 2 years, and he's been solid, although he's had a few rough stretches that kind of ruined his MVP chances. If he can kind of minimize those rough stretches, I think we've seen him finish top 5 twice in the MVP, including runner-up in 2019. Plus, I see all the work he does on his swing in the offseason. I'm always getting on my Instagram Reels feed, I'm always seeing Alex Alex Bregman swing videos. So I've got a lot of respect for him and all the work that he does. I've been having arguments with people on the top 5 third base list short who don't think Alex Bregman is a top 5 third baseman. And even for me, a guy who doesn't like the Astros one bit, I think that is a wild argument to make.
Yeah.
I'm in there sticking up for Bregman in the comments. I never thought I would be the Bregman proponent, but I'm the one in there sticking up for him. So again, if you make me choose which bet that I would take, I think I'd probably take Bregman at plus 5,000 just because you're getting a little bit better odds. But I think both Altuve at plus 4,000 and Alex Bregman at plus 5,000 are great AL MVP bets for a sleeper.
Yeah, Bregman in a contract year. I'm all
contract
for that.
Year.
And he's going to be the premier third baseman on the market, and there's going to be a lot of demand for him. He's been solid his entire career, and there's
Just a good player,
teams. There's a lot of teams that are going to want him next year. So that's a good pick.
100%. Hey, Bregman, if you want to get us Yankee fans liking you a little bit more, we're probably going to have opening at third base, my boy. So if you want to come to put on the pinstripes, I don't know if that's going to happen, but hey, we've got a spot for you, my guy. We got a spot in the Bronx Open for you. There's no doubt about that. But listen, Taylor, let's move to the National League, and we're going to start with the NL Cy Young, where last year's winner just signed a contract to be with his new team, as Blake Snell is now a Giant. But this award seems to be up for grabs with a lot of different potential winners this year. So Taylor, tell me who wins the 2024 National League Cy Young Award.
I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to go with Blake Snell's teammate now, and that's Logan Webb, plus 950 to win the Cy Young. And obviously Strider is the favorite, and for good reason. Like, if these guys had similar Cy Young odds, give me Strider, but I'll take Webb at much better odds and be comfortable with that decision, because with Webb, I don't have to worry really at all about any potential home run problems. He now has one of the best defensive third basemen of our generation to handle ground balls on the left side. And with how good Nick Ahmed has been in spring training for the Giants, he might also have a Gold Glove shortstop on the left side of the infield. So that infield could be really, really nice for him. And he's a big ground ball guy, so that only helps him. And I do have one comp as far as Cy Youngs go, and that's Sandy Alcantara, who won the Cy Young in 2022. Yep. He started 33 games. He threw 205 and 2/3 innings, 24% K rate, 6% walk rate, 3.19 ERA. And Webb's numbers last year look a lot like Alcantara's numbers the year before his Cy Young season, but with marginally less strikeouts and significantly less walks. Webb had 33 starts, 216 innings pitched, 22.8% K rate, 3.6% walk rate, 3.25 ERA. So while this is Strider's award to lose, because if he pitches a full season like he has the past couple of years, like, you're not going to beat him for Cy Young, but I do know that Logan Webb is at least going to be in the conversation, because he's going to have a ton of volume and he's going to give a lot of quality innings.
Yeah, I like the Logan Webb pick a lot. I think he's still somehow underrated as far as pitchers go in the MLB. He's been so solid. But listen, this one, you mentioned him, Taylor. He was my sleeper last year. He ain't a sleeper no more. He's the literal favorite, and I'm going with Spencer Strider of the Braves. I'm going to keep this one pretty short and sweet, because there's a reason why he's the favorite. Stuff is electric. He's thrown 320 and 2/3 innings in the MLB so far. He's got 483 strikeouts. That's 13.56 Ks per 9 from a starter. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. He's got a 3.37 ERA, which is a little higher than you would think, but his expected ERA for his career is under 3, and he has a FIP of 2.48 last year, and then a expected FIP of 2.7. So the guy is unbelievable. So he's basically been a 5-WAR pitcher both of his last 2 seasons, and if things break right for him a little bit more this year, I think this could be a unanimous pick. I'm going Strider all day, every day here with my 2024 Cy Young pick, Taylor. But I'm going to kick it to you, man. I need a sleeper for the 2024 NL Cy Young Award, man. Who you got?
It's one of my favorite bets of the year, actually. It's Jesus Luzardo, around plus 3,000. Okay. He had a really good year last year, 3.58 ERA, but there's just a ton more upside with him, specifically on the swing and miss side, because his fastball and slider are both plus offerings by Stuff Plus. The slider is nasty. It plays to both righties and lefties. He's one of those guys that has variations of his slider. He has a tighter one, and then he has one with a little bit more sweep. And his fastball is really interesting, because sometimes it's labeled a dead zone fastball, meaning it breaks very similar to like like the average major league fastball. And Luzardo actually has very little extension, but it's an effective pitch, partly because he throws it really hard. It's one of the hardest fastballs from a lefty in the game. And he also locates it really well, 103 location plus on that pitch. And his arm slot and his mechanics create a really tricky horizontal approach angle for righties because the ball is coming to them at such a sharp angle and at such a high velocity. It makes it really tough to hit. So I like that he can attack both righties and lefties in really effective ways. And last year he threw 178 and 2/3 innings. And I think with Sandy out of the mix and the injuries are already starting to pile up for the rest of that rotation, I think they're going to have to lean on Luzardo as a bit of a workhorse. And I think with just a little bit more volume, a little bit less hard contact, Luzardo could put up some really, really good numbers with his stuff. And I think with a little bit of luck, he could easily win a Cy Young award. So I really like him as a sleeper at those odds.
I think that's a great sleeper, Taylor. Like you mentioned, Alcantara is out. Yuri Perez, that's a terrible injury for them too. That's a really shitty injury for the Marlins there. He obviously a good-looking young pitcher. You don't want to see him out too. I think that's a good pick, but I'm also going with a lefty, okay? My sleeper pick for 2024, I'm heading to the Windy City. I'm going with 30-year-old Shota Imanaga, Japanese rookie for the Cubs, okay? So, Imanaga is really good, ladies and gentlemen. If it weren't for Ohtani and Yamamoto, he probably would have gotten a lot more attention this offseason. And if it weren't for those two and Roki Sasaki, Imanaga would have gotten a lot more attention during the 2023 World Baseball Classic as well. But this guy is coming over from Japan before he was signed and was being compared to another one of his very successful Japanese countrymen, Kodai Senga. Scouts were basically calling him the left-handed Senga. Well, Senga in his rookie year, 202 Ks, a 2.98 ERA last year with the Mets. That's good enough to be top 10 in the Cy Young. With how Imanaga has looked this spring, he's got 19 Ks to 2 walks in less than 10 innings pitched so far this spring. I think we could see him dominate. So at plus 4,000, I think Imanaga is a good Cy Young sprinkle. Taylor, what do you think?
I love it. His stuff is amazing. And I love that he ended up going to the Cubs for less money than some of the other teams offered him. I love the mentality there of like, no, I want to go to Chicago for whatever his reason was. I know that they're a really good destination for international players. They've got Seiya Suzuki, and it'll be interesting to see how his stuff plays in Wrigley, because with that really high ride fastball, you've got to expect he's going to give up a lot of fly balls, which depending on the day could be a really good thing in Wrigley Field or a really bad thing. The other interesting thing is it seems like his profile and his look are somewhat similar to Justin Steele, and they're going to be 1 and 2 in that rotation. So if he's pitching after Steele in the same series against the same team, maybe he has a tougher time because, the team has just seen a guy that looks a little bit like him before, but I still really like him, especially as a sleeper pick.
I think Imanaga is going to have a really, really nice season for the Chicago Cubs, but let's move. We're going to the NL Rookie of the Year, where last year it was also a unanimous Rookie of the Year selection, and it was in the NL as Taylor's boy Corbin Carroll got all 31st place votes to win the award, and now obviously a new player will take the trophy home in 2024, but we got to decide who that is. So Taylor, tell me who's winning the NL Rookie of the Year in 2024.
The guy that I picked before the Seoul Series, but I'm going to stick with him, and it's Yamamoto. Before the Seoul Series, his Rookie of the Year odds were plus 175, and now I think they're sitting more at that plus 260 range. Because, his first start was pretty much the worst case scenario, and people who have followed his career in Japan said that was by far the worst they've ever seen Yamamoto's command. But that Korea game was just a terrible spot for him to be in, because think about what you're asking from Yamamoto here. You're asking this guy who is trying to adjust to a totally new type of baseball, who just came from Japan and is trying to adapt to America, and then without even a normal spring training, you're asking him to go back over to Asia and pitch in Korea in another totally different environment, all while playing for a team that has possibly the highest expectations placed on them in the history of the game. And it was clear that the nerves were a factor there. It was clear he just wasn't ready to pitch in a real game for the Dodgers. And I think had this series not been in an Asian country, we just wouldn't have seen him pitch before the official opening day of Major League Baseball. I think the Dodgers were kind of forced to give him a shot because you can't play games in Asia and not play one of the best Asian players in the world. Like, their hand was kind of forced there. So, but I think there's also something to be said for the fact that he's kind of got this nightmare out of the way right off the bat, because he's clearly not a guy that has struggled like that ever. And I think now he knows how it feels to get completely shelled. And I think that'll help alleviate some fear of failure, some anxiety about his performance maybe down the road, because like it's only going to go up from here. And he's still the Rookie of the Year favorite for a reason. This guy put up some of the best numbers the NPB has ever seen. Even though I absolutely love what I saw from Jackson Merrill in the Seoul series, I'm still going to go with Yamamoto as my Rookie of the Year pick.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Taylor, obviously a rough first start, but, it's one start. He threw one inning. I think he's going to be able to, definitely bounce back and definitely become, at the very least, a solid starting pitcher this season. But, Taylor, my Rookie of the Year, again, I'm like half going chalk, because in the AL I went with baseball's number 1 prospect, while in the NL I'm going with baseball's number 2 prospect. I'm going with center fielder for the Milwaukee Brewers, Jackson Chourio. I believe in him so much because an organization who always seems to do a good job at identifying talent in the Brewers believes in him so much that they made him the highest paid player to never debut in the MLB, locking him up for 8 years and $82 million. If you watch his highlights, you see why. The power, the speed, smooth in the outfield. The bat speed at the plate is insane. He can also handle high velo. I saw a couple videos of him going yard against Angels reliever Ben Joyce. One homer was on a 99 mile per hour fastball. Another was a double. His swing is so simple. He uses his lower half a lot. He stays in his lower half. He doesn't have a huge leg kick. He eliminates forward movement. He stays really, really simple with his swing, and he stays really, really short. I think that's a really, really good recipe to hitting velocity and hitting MLB pitching. So he wasn't as good in spring training or the minor leagues as the guy who I talked about for the American League, Jackson Holliday, was, but he was still damn good, and he's probably has a higher upside as far as his tools go than Holliday does. So I think the Brewers got themselves an absolute stud outfielder in Jackson Chourio, and I think he shows it right away and wins the NL Rookie of the Year, Taylor.
Wouldn't be surprised. I was a little bit surprised when they gave him such a big extension, and then I went and looked at his minor league numbers, and they're good, but they're not eye-popping like you would expect given that contract. But then you go to the scouting report and the future, the potential ratings on his scouting report are hit tool 50, game power 60, raw power 70, speed 70, field 60, future value 65. I mean, if the scouts are that high on him, pay that guy what he wants and lock him up.
And again, it's not like an Ohtani contract where it's $70 million a year. You're giving him $10 million a year. Even if he doesn't turn out to be the player that you think he's going to be, he's still it's $10 million. But Taylor, I'm kicking it back to you, man. I need a sleeper for the NL Rookie of the Year. Who you got for me?
I'm going to go with one of Yamamoto's teammates, actually, and I'm going to go with Gavin Stone. The reason I'm going to go with him, and he's at around that plus 3,000 range. A lot of the other guys in that range are just not in positions where I think they're going to end up on the big league club anytime soon in the season. Some of the other guys in his range were like James Wood, Dylan Cruz, Jared Jones, Pete Crow Armstrong, and like all of those guys are definitely starting in the minors this year, and they're playing for teams that don't really seem to have a sense of urgency to bring them up. But Stone has already been announced as the 5th starter for the Dodgers, so we know he's at least going to have the opportunity, whereas some of these other guys in that range are not. And I think if he pitches well enough to stay in that rotation and Yamamoto has a disappointing year, which has proven to be a possibility already, that Stone could have a shot at that Rookie of the Year award. And I don't think I would actually put any money on this one, but I think based on our parameters of a plus 2,500 or more, he's a guy that I like the most in that spot. And it would actually be an interesting play to pair him with Yamamoto, because basically betting on one of these Dodgers pitchers to win Rookie of the Year is maybe not a terrible bet. But really, if you're putting money on someone that isn't Yamamoto, I would probably go with Jackson Merrill. I was extremely impressed with his at-bats in this Seoul series, and I'm excited to see what he does in the regular season too.
I like Merrill a lot too. The Padres have turned, I think what was it, like 7 shortstops in their starting lineup, so that kind of goes to the old college and really professional philosophy of, draft the shortstop because he's the best athlete and then put him wherever you want him, But for me, you mentioned the guy who I'm going to pick, and I'm going back to the Windy City. I'm going with a guy who is a center fielder and one of the top prospects in baseball in the NL Central as well. Same thing as Jackson Chourio. At plus 4,000, I'm going with PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong. Okay. Now, this is a top 20 prospect who, like you mentioned, Taylor, he's starting the league, or he's starting the year in AAA. Again, that's why you're getting him at plus 4,000, okay? But he was in the big leagues last year and will probably be in the big leagues this year if the Cubs outfield wasn't so stacked with Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, and Ian Happ. Last year in the minor leagues, he was 20 homers, 30 stolen bases last year with an 876 OPS. So it's hard not to see why everybody likes him so much at 21 years old. He is for sure a top prospect. Now, he got off to a rough start. He was 0 for 14 to start his MLB career. Okay, but that's way too small of a sample size to make any real judgments as far as his upside goes. So how does he get on the field, you ask? Obviously, an outfield injury, and PCA is the first one to be called up. Or Michael Busch struggles at first base /DH, and that opens up a spot in the lineup where Bellinger slides to first, where actually Fangraphs has Bellinger at first right now, projected to be on opening day. And then that'll open up another outfield spot and a lineup spot for PCA potentially, where you might have to kick out Mike Tauchman. But again, you can throw him out there and you can rotate the DH spot with the other guys. So for a guy, that's that talented and with obvious lanes for him to, potentially get in the lineup. And Craig Counsell already said, listen, if he balls out in AAA, he's going to force our hand more than likely, basically, So I think PCA at plus 4,000 is a really nice sleeper pick for the NL Rookie of the Year, Taylor.
That's a good one because that's one of those ones that I want to root for. We need more defensive guys like that up there. Not dissing the bat at all. Obviously, the kid can hit too, but I want to see him roaming the outfield in Chicago. So I am hoping that he does force their hand. Because with all due respect to Mike Tauchman, I love Mike Tauchman.
Love you, Mike.
I would much rather see PCA in center field
for sure
than Mike Tauchman right now.
Yeah, I think PCA, as far as a Rookie of the Year sleeper, is a good pick, but we're going to the 2024 NL MVP where Ronald Acuna Jr. will look to defend his crown coming off a historic 40-70 season, that being the first ever in MLB history. But he may have to do something historic again to win MVP again, because there are a ton of great ball players coming for that NL MVP this year, Taylor. So tell me, who is winning the 2024 NL MVP?
Fernando Tatis Jr. plus 1,000. I think like Tatis is going to shine this year. He's now the definitive star in San Diego. He has more to prove than almost anyone in the league. He has elite defense in the outfield. He's reduced his strikeout rate in 2023. We saw some mixed results from him in the Seoul series in Game 1. He looked a little bit jumpy, which is completely understandable given the environment, and he probably wanted to put on a show for the people. But then in Game 2, he went 2 for 4 with a walk, which included a single that he lined to left at 116.7 miles per hour and a hit by pitch after battling in that at-bat with Yamamoto in the first inning. The drop in power last season is a little bit concerning to me, but he also showed signs of a more advanced approach at the plate because from the 2021 to 2023 season, his K rate improved from being 13th percentile in the league to being nearly average in 2023. He was also hitting the ball up the middle more and more barreled balls to center field and right field. All of that put together is telling me that this guy is taking very, very calculated measures to become a more mature hitter. He also seems to have developed a lot as a person. His teammates were really impressed with how he held himself in 2023 after all the drama in that previous year, and he understands that he made mistakes that kept him off the field and recognizes that that had a massive effect on his teammates and the organization that just shelled out a bunch of money for him. So he's focusing now on making smarter decisions and staying on the field, and there was a quote that he gave that I absolutely loved and kind of sold me on this pick, honestly. He said, "I've got no doubt next year is going to be a totally different year in all positive ways and matters. I know it's going to be history. I don't want to get too far in front of myself, but I know it's just going to be one of those seasons." And even last year, and in what people would consider a down year, he still put up 4.4 FWAR, which shows you how high his ceiling is for a good season. And last year, I think he was still healing up a little bit from the shoulder and wrist injuries that he underwent in 2022 after he got suspended. But really, like, a 30-30 season is this guy's floor going forward. And I think his ceiling is like first ballot Hall of Fame output. I think this is the year that raw power that he displayed in 2021 could find balance with this more mature approach at the plate and just a more mature mentality all around. And I think he has the chance to put up Acuna-esque numbers at the plate while also being an elite defender in the outfield. So give me Tatis for MVP.
Taylor, that's a great pick. I love Fernando Tatis Jr. for MVP this year. I mean, we talked about it. You talked about the power that he possesses, and we talked about this on a previous episode. I saw it up close, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's something that's like, again, you can obviously see it on TV, but if you see it in person, you're like, whoa, like that's. It's insane. Listen, my NL MVP, Taylor, he's your guy. Okay, I'm gonna steal your guy, and you have wildly established this as your guy. Okay,
oh, no.
And maybe you got into my head about this guy being that guy, but 1 year in, he really is that guy. Okay, and I'm going with Corbin Carroll to win NL MVP in year 2 at plus 1,800. I think he's the best bet on the board. And here are some of Corbin Carroll's rookie numbers. 285 average, 362 on base, 506 slugging, and 868 OPS, 25 homers, 76 RBIs, 54 stolen bases, 30 doubles, 10 triples, which led the league, a 134 OPS plus, a unanimous rookie of the year, 5th in NL MVP voting, and he led his team to the World Series from the wildcard round. That was year 1 from Corbin Carroll. That's a career for most people, okay? Year 2 could be something special, okay? And a thing that I think is a kind of an underrated aspect of this is all the kind of other guys who we kind of have above Corbin Carroll who are also MVP candidates have kind of other guys on their team that are also MVP candidates, right? Otani, Betts, and Freeman, they're all on the same team. Olsen, Acuna, Riley, they're all on the same team. Harper and Trey Turner, they're on the same team. I think those guys kind of overshadow one another to a certain extent. If Corbin Carroll goes off, he's going to stand out in Arizona because he is obviously the best ball player on that team, with all due respect to Ketel Marte. So if they have a good regular season, and I believe they will, and I believe Corbin Carroll has another level to his game. You talked about Tatis Jr. getting to an Acuna level. I think Corbin Carroll also has an Acuna-ish level that he can get to, and I think he gets there this year. So Taylor, I'm stealing your guy, man. I'm going with Corbin Carroll, Taylor's guy to win the 2024 NL MVP.
Yeah. It was the most absurd line I think I've ever seen betting
last year.
Corbin Carroll plus 20,000 to win MVP.
Right.
It's like, give me all of that. And to be honest, I felt really good about that in the first half, because if you look at the first half leaderboards for WAR, it went Ronald Acuna Jr. at 4.4, Otani 4.3, Betts 4.2, Freeman 4.0, Corbin Carroll 3.7. He was arguably the 5th most valuable player in the league in the first half of the season. He had that shoulder injury that kind of slowed him down in the second half.
Right.
So if he's healthy next year, there is no reason to think that he cannot play at an MVP caliber level.
Yeah, I mean, as a rookie, he was top 5 already in the NL MVP. Yeah. So yeah, he's already shown he can be an MVP candidate, and he's already shown he can be the best player on a World Series team as a rookie. That's an incredible start for a rookie player. And Corbin Carroll going into his second year, I think that's a very reasonable MVP pick. But Taylor, I got to kick it back to you, man. I need a sleeper for the NL MVP in 2024. Who you got for me?
Well, this guy is also at plus 20,000. This year. I don't like him as much as the Corbin. It's not the absurd line that I just mentioned with Corbin Carroll, where I was like, this is egregious that he's at plus 20,000. This guy's a long shot, but the MVP race in the NL is so top heavy that if I'm picking a sleeper, like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go way deep with it.
For sure.
And since I'm already going to be monitoring the Rockies to see if they can achieve their 420-69 goals that I've set for them, I might as well take a very long shot at Nolan Jones to win the NL MVP.
He's plus 20,000?
He's plus 20,000, and I think that is a little bit disrespectful, but
that's very disrespectful.
But I get it. I get it, because
kinda
you look at it, and he's gonna need to put up at least 9 WAR to be even in the mix for MVP. When you look at like some of these other guys that he's competing against, he put up 4.3 B WAR, 3.7 F WAR last year in 106 games. So the question we have here is, can he effectively double his WAR if he's playing in a full season? And so let's flash back and compare Jones to the only other Colorado Rocky to win an MVP award, which was Larry Walker for the 97 Rockies. And in 153 games, he slashed 366, 452, 720, and that's a 1.172 OPS with 49 homers, 46 doubles, while playing Gold Glove defense in the outfield. Last year, Nolan Jones played in 106 games and slashed 297, 389, 542 with 20 home runs and 22 doubles, and played pretty good defense. So that's a solid year. There's obviously a pretty big gap between that and the Larry Walker season, and obviously we don't have the raw hitting data from 1997, but we can compare a few of the other underlying numbers between these two guys. In Walker's 97 season, 354 isolated power, 13.6% K rate, 11.8% walk rate, 7.4% home run rate. Pretty good. So let's compare that to Jones's second half numbers, because that's when he really settled into his big league role and took off. And he had a 272 isolated power, 28.3% K rate, but 12.9% walk rate, 5.2% home run rate. So there's obviously a big difference in those numbers. And the biggest one that's the most detrimental to his MVP chances is that K rate. It's more than double Walker's that he had in his MVP year. And Nolan's chase rate is actually slightly above average, which is great, but his whiff rate is not. And to me, that sounds like he has that innate plate discipline and he's good at recognizing balls and strikes. And he just needs to have a better idea of how pitchers are going to attack him, which he should have going into this year since he has last year's experiences to draw from and he knows how guys are going to attack him a little bit more. The first thing I'm sure people thought when I mentioned Nolan Jones as a Colorado Rocky and offense is, well, he's playing in Coors Field, so like all those numbers are inflated, but he actually hit better away from Coors. He had a 148 WRC plus in his away split, and that's compared to 122 at home. And in Coors Field, he was hitting absolute tanks that would have gone out in any stadium, so it doesn't even matter. And defensively, he didn't have great range according to outs above average, but he does have above average sprint speed and an absolute cannon for an arm.
Cannon.
Yeah, he had a ton of assists in the outfield last year, so I think those defensive numbers can improve. I mean, a lot of that's just like first step and being confident in the outfield and like playing in that big Coors outfield that he's adjusted to a little bit better now. So, I mean, is this one likely to happen? Probably not. He would have to hit like he did in the second half for the entirety of the 2024 season, play all 162 games, and put up better defensive numbers than last year. But if he did all those things, he could rack up enough WAR to force his way into the MVP conversation. And honestly, for plus 20,000, like you could do a lot worse than Nolan Jones.
Way worse. Yeah, that plus 20,000, like you mentioned, Taylor, it's not as disrespectful as Corbin Carroll plus 20,000, but that's very disrespectful. Yeah. Nolan Jones, anybody who doesn't know about Nolan Jones, go look up Nolan Jones highlights. Yeah. You're going to see a dude hitting massive home runs, stealing bases, and throwing 102 miles an hour from the outfield. The guy is a ridiculous player to watch, and obviously, him being, kind of a young cornerstone of your franchise, that is a piece that the Rockies should be very, very excited about. One of my concerns with the Rockies is too, I know you're obviously higher as far as the team success goes, but if they win 50, 58 games, I know the MLB MVP hasn't been like you have to win, a bunch of games to win it, but I don't think they're going to give the MVP to one of the two worst teams, a player on one of the two worst teams in the league still, so I think the Rockies would have to kind of abide by your 420-69, Taylor, where they win 69 plus games and they at least get to 70. I think that's kind of a prerequisite for him to be involved in that MVP conversation. But Taylor, I'm actually going to use the exact opposite logic that I just used for Corbin Carroll. This guy is in a really good lineup, especially now that they added JD Martinez, and he's got great hitters on both sides of him now, and he's going to get a lot of pitches to hit and a lot of RBI chances and chances for a lot of big moments. I am going with Francisco Lindor at plus 4,000. Last year, he had a 30-30 season. Last year, everybody slept on it because the Mets were so bad, but 30 homers, 30 steals with an 806 OPS while playing his customary Gold Glove caliber shortstop defense. And last year, he was also career highs in average exit velo, barrel percentage was much higher than his previous high. Hard hit percentage was the second highest of his career, and his average launch angle went up from his previous career high of 14.7 to 19.2. So it was a big jump in launch angle for Francisco Lindor last year. So he was hitting the ball in the air a lot more, which led to the homers. So I think he's going to do that again in a lineup this year that's obviously very deep, and we could see a big year out of Francisco Lindor. So plus 4,000 is a nice bet on a guy who has finished top 10 in the MVP 6 times in his career before. So Taylor, I'm going with Frankie Lindor as my sleeper in the NL.
That's really solid. I mean, he is overlooked, and I'm certainly one of the ones that's overlooked him this season. 6.6 WAR in 2022, 6 WAR in 2023, while only missing 3 games total. He played 161 games in 2022, 160 last year. So
Lindor always seems to have just moments that people can look back on. It's like, man, remember when Lindor did that? He had that, obviously the one that kind of hurts our heart in the playoffs when he hit that grand slam in the ALDS in 2017. But he just has electric moments like that people can remember, and I think that's really important as far as MVP award goes. In a given season, you have a couple of big time moments that everybody can look back on and be like, man, that's when he was the MVP. So again, there's obvious flaws that come with Lindor, but winning the MVP. But at plus 4,000, I think those are pretty good odds. But Taylor, Taylor, listen, man, we've been going on too damn long with these awards, man. It's finally the part of the show that everyone's been waiting for. There's only one trophy that really matters, and that's the World Series trophy, Taylor. And only one team at the end of the year gets to raise it up as world champions. So, Taylor, I'm going to need you to do me a favor. I'm going to need you to give me the AL pennant winner. I'm going to need you to give me the NL pennant winner, and then I'm going to need you to tell me who wins the 2024 World Series.
Well, obviously, if you've gotten this far in the episode, you know that I tend to be a bit more of a number. Yeah, thank you for listening to us for some reason.
Thank God.
You know that I'm definitely more of the numbers guy. That makes World Series predictions like this, where I have to definitively pick one team, really hard for me, because we can't possibly know what's going to happen over the next 162 games. And then once teams are in the playoffs, really like anything can happen in a 7-game series. But despite the fact that I'm more of a numbers guy, when it comes to baseball, sometimes I do still get this like stony cosmic sense that sometimes the outcome
there you go.
That's going to be best for baseball as a sport is what's going to happen, because it's what's best for baseball. And last year's World Series I thought was really interesting, but last year's World Series also had some of the worst viewership ratings in recent memory. So my prediction here is more based on the belief that the World Series will get this year is the one that's going to be the best for baseball. So on the AL side, as much as I want to say the Mariners, I also think the Rangers are going to go into the playoffs with a really deadly roster. The Astros are really great on paper right now, but that's not who I'm going to pick. And it's because there's a team that absolutely needs to cash in their chips this year, and I think they're going to, and that's why I'm taking the Yankees to win the AL pennant.
Oh!
And Matt, I've been down on this Yankees team for a while now, but it finally feels like we can do it. We have the balanced lineup. This lineup has so much more righty-lefty platoon balance now. I like the depth with Oswaldo Cabrera, Trent Grisham, and arguably my favorite thing is that there's no obvious deadweight this year like Donaldson or Hicks. But if Stanton has a tough year this year, he might start to creep into that category for 2025, but I still have faith that he has got a little bit left in the tank. Obviously, the starting pitching is a bit of a concern. Cole starting the year out is tough, and the amount of depth arms the Yankees lost getting Soto, and the fact that they desperately just need Carlos Rodon to bounce back this season to have like a really, really good shot. But I'm not picking this team because I think they have the best roster in the AL right now, because they don't. I think after the 2024 trade deadline, though, there is a good chance that they do, because we're getting to the point, Matt, where it's getting embarrassing for the Yankees organization because they haven't won a championship since 2009. And I think this front office recognizes that this year might be their best chance in a while to bring home a championship. And this front office should be feeling a renewed sense of urgency. And as a result, I think they're going to make a bunch of moves if the Yankees are even in the mix at the deadline, because this is the one year we know we have Soto, and the Yankees gave up a lot for him. And I don't think they're going to trade away that much depth for 1 year of a guy if they don't plan on going all in even more. This team is adding at the deadline. Specifically, they're going to go pick up an arm. My bet would be on Shane Bieber is a Yankee by year's end. And if I really want to dream big, maybe they go pick up a big fish like Jesus Luzardo. I also think there's room for a third baseman like Yohan Moncada, JD Davis, Brandon Drury if DJ is not quite playing up to par. The front office just can't be happy with half measures anymore. Soto and Judge have the potential to be a historically great duo, and a lot of solid pieces are already in place to support them. And I also just have to believe there's some kind of karmic justice owed to the Yankees after the 2017 loss in the ALCS to the sign-stealing Astros. So now just go out there and do it, Yankees. Be the Yankees. Win the division. Trade for the guys you need to make this a pennant-winning team. And, of course, this is just all assuming they stay healthy, which is always the question for this team. On the NL side, I mean, it's a little bit more simple. The Braves are insanely talented, and right now they are arguably more talented than the Dodgers, even though you can argue your way to making a case that either of those teams is the best team in the league. I am not going to pick the Braves, though, and it's very similar to the reason why I just took the Yankees in the AL, and it's because this Dodgers team is in a position where they need to win. I do think the Braves have a better roster right now, but it's just that sense of urgency that I think they don't have, and part of that's because they've done such an amazing job of locking up all of these guys long term that they're basically running this team for the next couple years. They've just won a World Series in 2021, so like they don't have as much to prove as this Dodgers team, whose recent championship in 2020 just has a big asterisk on it. I think we're going to see the Yankees-Dodgers in the World Series because this is a classic World Series matchup that we haven't had since 1981. I think baseball needs this big market all-time rivalry matchup between the two franchises that are considered the evil empires. And we need people to watch the World Series this year. And I think that's what's best for baseball. And because it's what's best for baseball, I think this series needs to go 7 games. But in a 7-game series between these two teams, I genuinely have no idea who would win if both these rosters are at full strength. So what's better for baseball? Is it better for baseball that the Yankees win? It's one of the most successful franchises, but they haven't won since 2009. And I think this window is closing fast, so it might be now or never. Or is it the Dodgers? Do they overcome the drama of the offseason and now potentially the regular season? And is Shohei going to get his first taste of playoff baseball at this point? Like, how is he going to play? Will Kershaw make a dramatic comeback late in the year from his injury and have a meaningful World Series appearance? Honestly, I don't know what the answer is. So I gave up. And I didn't want to decide. So I decided to leave the final decision up to our cat.
Oh my
Matt,
gosh.
I sent you the video. I sent you the video, Matt. I had my girlfriend place the cat in the center of the room, equidistant from a treat on the left and a treat on the right. As you can see, there are 2 note cards on each side. There's a treat behind them. She looks a little bit towards the Dodgers side, takes a glance, and then takes the treat on the New York Yankees side. And so that is why I am picking the New York Yankees to win the World Series in 7 games against the Los Angeles Dodgers in a World Series matchup that a bunch of people watch. And baseball's back. Because that's what's best for baseball.
Let's go. What a great decision by your cat. I'll tell you what. That's one of the best picks of all time right there. I'm still watching the video. That is awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Come on, man. That's how you know it's destiny, man. The Yankees are going to win the World Series. The cat picks the treat. It's perfect, man. It's perfect. It feels like a black cat has been going through our franchise as of late, and now a cat is the one that turns our fortunes around. So, exactly. Taylor, by the way, you brought up the 2009 championship. Do you remember where you were when the Yankees won the 2009 championship?
Oh, man. No.
Because I'm pretty sure we were together.
I would have been a junior in high school? Sophomore in high school.
Yep. I'm pretty sure we were at Tailgaters eating the shoestring fries. And we were watching Mariano Rivera get the last out against the Phillies.
Totally.
I remember that like it was. Because I remember it like it was yesterday. Because it was the Yankees winning the World Series. But again, it wasn't yesterday. It was 15 years ago. I was in 6th grade. Yeah, I was in the 6th grade. It was 15 years ago. I'm now more than double that age, and I've graduated college and have now started my life. That's how long it's been since the Yankees have won the World Series. So, yes, Taylor, it has been forever since the Yankees won the World Series, and I really, really appreciated that cat video and you telling that story because that was awesome. But, Taylor, it's time for me to tell the people a little story of my own, okay? And as some of the people watching this probably know, we're a partner of the House Call Sports, okay? Like I mentioned at the beginning of and end of every video, before we were doing the Bush League on our own page, the episodes would get posted to the House Call channel, and we had some that did pretty well, including a notable one about the Astros that generated a lot of ridiculous hate from Astros fans, which, by the way, shout out to the House Call Sports. House Call's on all platforms. If you want to watch any of our old videos, there's a playlist over there called the Bush League where you can watch all of our old stuff. So if you want to do that, go check it out. But on this same exact episode, on the award and predictions episode last season, I gave an impassioned speech about how the Astros fans were going to have to deal with them not making the World Series, which I was right about, but I said because the Yankees were going to be there. Last year, my World Series pick was Yankees over Braves in 6. And for us Yankees fans who are like 35 and younger, we literally haven't seen a worse season than the one that we saw last year. So I butchered that pick. I fumbled that pick. That pick was terrible. There is no doubt about it. And it's got me a little gun shy this year, Taylor. I'm not going to lie to you. Not even a little bit gun shy. It's got me very gun shy. Even after all the new additions to the lineup. Obviously, the lineup was terrible last year. It made a ton of new additions. I agree with you, Taylor. I think that lineup's going to be a lot better. But still, last year, we had additions last year too. But then what happened before the season even started? Injuries. Last year there was a bunch. This year it's Garrett Cole. DJ and Judge seem to be a little banged up. Apparently Rizzo's got a little bit banged up too. Peraza and the Martian both starting the year on the IL as well. So Taylor, I've learned from my mistakes. I'm not going to fall for it this year. I'm not going to fall for the trap. I've made for myself last year, that trap was made of hopefulness and excitement, only for me to be torn down by injuries, a poorly constructed roster, bad performance, and just overall strange organizational decision making. Okay, so I said it in the last episode. The Yankees aren't winning the division. They will be in the wild card. Now, what will happen when they get to the playoffs? We obviously haven't seen them in a World Series like we talked about since I was in 6th grade in 2009. And honestly, I just don't see them making a push to win the World Series in the playoffs this year, considering we've come up short so much with this core and the injuries and the depth concerns and the pitching staff that we already have. I'm going to be honest, Taylor, I just don't believe that this team can win a World Series. And Taylor, when I tell you, it pains me to say that. It truly brings me tons of pain to say, but I also have one more thing to say that might make me feel a little bit better regarding everything that I just said above. Psych. I brought up this reference on a previous episode, Taylor. I'm pulling a Michael Scott when he was ready to get back into dating. There's no question about it. I'm ready to get hurt again. The Yankees win the 2024 World Series over the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 games. It's only right that history repeats itself 15 years later. And it's not just this year's history. It's the previous 3 years' history. Let me take you back through time before the 2009 championship, Taylor. The 2007 Yankees make the playoffs but lose, and A-Rod wins an MVP. The 2008 Yankees miss the playoffs. The 2009 Yankees make big offseason moves with CC and Teixeira, win the World Series in 6 games over the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the last 3 Yankee seasons, the 2022 Yankees make the playoffs but lose, and Judge wins the MVP. The 2023 Yankees miss the playoffs. The 2024 Yankees make big offseason moves, Soto, Stroman, Verdugo, and win the 2024 World Series in 6 games over the Philadelphia Phillies, Taylor. It was written, I got the script, and it's going to happen. The New York Yankees are your 2024 World Series champions, and Aaron bleepin' Judge overcomes some of his struggles and wins the World Series MVP, Taylor. Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. World Series 28 is within our reach, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the New York Yankees as your 2024 World Series champions.
Okay, everybody, for the record, neither of us knew who the other was picking. And also for the record, we both live nowhere close to New York at all. Okay,
nowhere near it.
Like we grew up Yankees fans really out of necessity because they were the only team on TV where we lived, which was Alaska, and we grew up watching Jeter in the playoffs. All the time. And also for the record, I feel like I need to qualify this because now we just seem like a couple of assholes that just picked the Yankees for ridiculous reasons. But also, like I said, like I'm not picking the Yankees to win the pennant because they have the best roster right now. Like if you were to put them against the Braves or the Dodgers in a 7-game series right now, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'll take the Braves or the Dodgers. But I think this just needs to be a World Series that's good for baseball. I also think the Yankees versus the Braves would be a great matchup for baseball.
Great one.
That's a classic 90s rematch, but I think the Yankees are going to make big moves at the deadline because they have to. Like this is kind of it. This is the Soto year. You gave up so much to get him. Like this is the year to go all in.
100% it's the year to go all in. And Taylor, you know what I just did while you were talking? The year is 2024, so I Googled 1 century before. You know who the 1924 World Series champions were?
Probably the Yankees.
The Washington Senators. It's not the Yankees.
Okay.
So the Yankees are going to win anyway, despite that. Yeah. Okay, it's going to be the Yankees. Okay, I don't give a shit. I don't care what nobody has to say. The Yankees are winning the World Series, and I am going to probably be devastated at the end of the year, like we have been the last 15 years. Yeah. But again, what else is new? I'm already used to it. I'm already used to it by now. I might as well be even more devastated at the end of the year. Who cares?
And for the record, I forgot to get. I was gonna get a shot that also proved that there were treats behind both cards, not just the Yankees card.
Okay.
So you're just gonna have to take my word for it that I did put treats behind both cards. That would have been
setup. That would have been nasty work if you would have just put treats behind the Yankees one and been like, "Oh, he made the decision on his own."
Surprise! Yeah. No, I did not do that.
That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. I would have done that. I would have done that. Yeah, we're like, wow, what a coincidence.
Well, because then it just looks like my cat's a liar, and I don't want that.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want. One of the last things in the world that you would want is your cat to look like a liar. But listen, man, We gave you everything in this episode. We gave you awards. We gave you picks. We gave you cats choosing picks. We gave you everything. We gave you impassioned speeches, and we gave you a whole lot of stuff to chew on, including that cat's treat. So there is a absolute lot to chew on for this episode, and we appreciate you guys if you actually stuck around this long to watch the entire thing. And thank you. And again, that is going to be it for us here today for the Bush League Bros at long last. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, comment down below who's winning the World Series and comment down below why it's the Yankees, and I will comment back to you and say that you're right, okay? And be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well at Bush League Bros. I've been having a lot of fun going back and forth with you guys in the comments. I'm sure we're going to have some shorts coming out as far as this episode goes, and I will be going back and forth with you guys in the comments of that as well. And also follow at the House Call Sports on all platforms as well. If you like content from all sports, that is the place to go. And that is going to be it for us. Peace.
If the Yankees end up in the World Series this year, I feel like we now owe it to ourselves to fly to Alaska and watch the World Series at
Tailgaters. We have to.
If we're buying into this destiny narrative, it's not even an option.
That's how it's got to be. We got to be there. I think the reason why I remember that is because I love those fries, dude.
Super thin, but like still tasted like fries, which I think is a tricky balance.